Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So today we've got the HOBBYWING Drift ESC and we've got the HOBBYWING over-the-air Bluetooth programmer. So I'm going to show you how to get this connected, take you through a few settings and show you what I've been running on the Yokomo MD 2.0. So to start with on this one, we're going to have to get as Bluetooth programmer, and then if you look in very tiny markings, it does show you the signal wire is the one to the far left with the plug facing with the openings away from you. And if we take the little rubber bung out, the pin we're looking for is the one near the power button. So if you have your little gold things facing towards you on the plug, and we just need to plug it in. So once we've got that plugged in, I've unplugged the fan because it gets really annoying, but when we power it up we should get a solid red light. So if we now go to his phone, let's get a screen recording of this for you. So we need the HOBBYWING Link V2 app, and once you get that on the actual phone, you can press your link in top corner. You'll start searching for the device. You'll see your HOBBYWING device show up, and then it'll connect up. Now the first time you connect this, it'll ask you for a code. The stock code is all 8s. It does show you on screen. So to check for firmware, we can click as firmware update. You'll see the light flashing, and it'll show you available versions and what version's on. So we don't need any update on this one. We can come off that. We can go into data log, and you can click the top one, and that'll read the last run from the ESC. So we can see as last run, max EST temp was 40 degrees or 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Motor temp 37 or 98.6. Battery voltage 7.6. Motor RPM, and it shows you your firmware version and the time it was set up and running. So we can come off that. We can go into parameters. This will take us into his actual settings for the ESC. At the top you've got reset to factory default. You can rename your profile. You can import, export, and if you click save, it'll save it to your ESC. So if we start looking through first, we've got our running modes. So we've got forward and brake, and reverse, and then forward and reverse like rock crawler mode. Maximum reverse speed. So on a drift car, anybody that's tried to reverse one of these things, you need to be pretty gentle with reverse, else your wheels just flop everywhere. So we've got that set at 25. Now reverse delay, this is one that I see a lot of people get stressed out with the drift RCs. You've got a 2-second delay before it goes in reverse. You can turn this all the way down to 0, or you can bring it down to whatever you want, or you can increase the delay all the way up to 5 seconds in half-second intervals. Now for me, it don't really bother me. Cut-off voltage, this is an interesting one, but if you're using massive lipos like what I've got in this at minute, I've got this currently set at 3.3 volt per cell. This is fully controllable, so we can have it on auto 3.3 volt per cell, or you can set this to whatever you like. You can play around with this and set this to storage if you want. So every time you run your RC, if you've got huge batteries like I have, you can just run it, and then as soon as they cut out, they're on storage. You've got your thermal protection for your ESC and motor. I've just left these on default because, as you've seen, it don't really get hot. BEC voltage, now I've got the cut-off set at 6.6 volt, so I know my voltage will never be lower than that, and I've got the BEC set to 6.6 volt. Just gives you that extra bit of boost on speed. You can set it to whatever you want, so all the way up to 7.4 volt, but just bear in mind as your battery voltage starts to drop, your BEC voltage will drop as well. Remote off, this is a useful one, so I'm going to turn this on, and basically what it does, if you press and hold the brake and just keep it held in, it'll shut your ESC down. So that's quite useful. Next, you've got your rotation, so counterclockwise or clockwise, depends on your RC. The phase swap is for, I believe, running sensorless motors, and you can swap the wires on the motor rather than you physically having to swap them round. So throttle rate control, we've got that set at default 20% and it seems absolutely fine. Throttle curve, so this is set to linear to give you a really nice sort of throttle. You can go customized and you can set in a full throttle curve if you want to. Just the same as you can do it on your transmitter, but if you've got a transmitter that can't do it, you can do that on ESC. Neutral range is just the range that your ESC won't react to throttle inputs or brake inputs, and I find that fine. So initial throttle force, you can turn this up or down, and it basically, the lower you have this, the further away it is from a one-to-one response of your throttle. So coasting, we got that set on 0. PWM drive frequency, so the higher you have this, the warmer it'll make your ESC, but the more sort of granular control, if you like, you'll have over your throttle. Softening values, these are just to sort of soften down the twitchiness of your throttle, and then you've got a throttle range that you can set. Drag brake, in drifting we don't tend to use that, but basically it'll make your motor react more like a brushed motor, so more drag on motor, higher up you put it. Maximum brake force, pretty self-explanatory. Initial brake force, so you have it equal in drag brake, or you can put it to whatever you want. Brake rate control set as default at 10%. Brake curve, again, same as the throttle curve, fully customizable, or you can have it as linear, so it's doing what your transmitter's telling it to do. Brake frequency, this one I find it absolutely fine set at 16k, but as I say, you can turn it up. The higher up you have it, the hotter the ESC will run. In a drift car they tend to run pretty cool, so it's not really an issue, but the higher up you have it, the more granular feel you'll get from the actual braking. Then we're on to boost timing and everything. So the boost timing we can set all the way up to 64 degrees. Stock is 10. And a lot of people like to run this just to get extra wheel speed. Then boost timing activation, you can have it at a set RPM or you can have it coming in automatic. Turbo timing, so this is sort of, if you think this is like overrun on your motor. The track we run, we don't really need masses of wheel speed, or it doesn't seem to so far, but you can turn this up and this will go all the way up to, I think, let's have a look, 64 degrees again. Yep. Then you can have your turbo delay, so how long it takes after you hold at 100% throttle before it kicks in. Drifting, tend to want it instantly. Turbo increase rate and decrease rate, so how many degrees per second it'll do on all these, and then you're down to your data recordings. So I did make a change on this. I enabled remote off, so what we're going to do is we're then going to save it, and you'll see you get a bit of a different pattern on your over-the-air programmer, and then it'll tell you it's saved successfully. So we can back out of this. If we have a quick look as well, you have got a bunch of different settings what you can use. So you can have a bunch of different settings for different tracks, and you can rename them. But yeah, that pretty much covers it for the programming. So once we've finished this programming, we can power off as ESC. You can unplug it. You can do your best to get the little rubber bung back in because it's a little bit fiddly. And I'll leave the fan unplugged for this one. So let's grab transmitter and I'll show you what the remote kill does. So we've now got its transmitter. Let's power it up.
Welcome to Novo Pro Plus.
And if we power on as ESC, we can see it's connected. So we've got its throttle and everything working, and you can just press and hold brake. And there you go.
Signal lost.
It shut the RC down for you without you having to press and hold the power button. So it can come in really useful, especially in race RCs. You can get to end at race. You do have to hold it for quite a while, so it's not something that's going to sort of cut your car out accidentally. But yeah, once you finish racing, press and hold it on brake and just keep it held. And there we go, completely shut down. So I've really been enjoying using the MB4 Pro Plus, but that covers the programming basics, how to check your firmware and update your firmware, how to get to your data logs, and how to save all the settings once you've made your changes. So let's wrap this one up. So there you have it, the HOBBYWING Drifty SC and the over-the-air Bluetooth programmer. Pretty easy to get connected and set up, and it's got some very useful settings in there, especially the throttle curve and brake curve. If your transmitter doesn't do that, nice to have the functionality to dial in it perfect on the ESC. And it's nice to be able to tweak the BEC to whatever voltage you want, especially if you know, like I do, I'm not going to run this LiPo low, and you've got a cut-off point. You can set your BEC to be that voltage and not 6 volt, so you're getting the extra power, but more importantly, you're getting exactly the same performance. So as you start at 7.4 volt on your battery, if you set your BEC to 7.4 volt, you're going to get really quick and it's going to get slower, so it changes the way you drive. Whereas if you know your cut-off point 6.6 volt or 7 volt, you can set it to that and you've got exactly the same performance on your steering servo all the way through. But hopefully you find that useful. So thanks again for watching Wtf Rc Cars. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, share to friends and family, and catch you guys again in the next one.